Now we're just going to do some sort of quick bits and pieces we've been watching. So I watched Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe, and honestly, I fucking loved it, man. I really did love it, because the basic plot is that Beavis and Butthead end up going to space. This is in the 90s. They end up going to space because they annoy everyone. They get chucked out into space. They end up in a black hole and end up in the year 2022.
Look at that number up there on the billboard.
There's a 2 and then some kind of circle.
No, dumbass, not that number. That one. 69.
Two of the astronauts who were on the ship that they were on are like, we've got to kill them, and the other people think they're aliens. It's just one of those, and it's so dumb, and it's childish, and the jokes are repetitive, and I just loved it though because it's so funny, and it doesn't feel too self-referential. Like it's
not proper self-indulgent.
Yeah, but it's not like, it's like, oh, do you remember this? Do you remember this?
It's not a nostalgic fest.
Yeah, and I'm not like a massive Beavis and Butthead fan. It's like I don't know every single bit. There might be references to other things, but it doesn't rely on that. Like, oh, you know Beavis and Butthead, so blah blah blah.
It's got enough of a sort of plot to keep you, okay.
And it's just like, it isn't too like, oh, let's laugh at how silly people are these days. It doesn't feel like that.
No.
And there is one bit which does, which I won't go into, but it really did. I really did love it. Feels a bit Rick and Morty. And I think
there's probably an influence.
Sort of that new way of the way things are. Anything else I want to quickly mention? Honestly, I really loved it. I really did. I had a smile on my face most of the film, and it's fucking true.
It's just one of those films where you don't have to think too much about. You can just sort of put it on.
Well, it's like I feel like I know there is silly humour, but I feel like it's like the way The Simpsons can be, where it's, well, when The Simpsons was good, where it's just like it can be silly, and Homer can be like really daft, but it's, in a way, there's some sort of clever bits. But yeah, Beavis and Butthead, fucking brilliant.
Beavis, that changes everything.
Do you have something cool, or shall I do something else?
I played a video game. It's called Sleeping Dogs.
This is new. This
is treading new ground. Mm-hmm. This is an open world, single player, pretty much a sort of high octane police adventure, and it was released 2010. So we're talking about 12 years ago, and you're playing an undercover cop that's set in. Where is it set in?
Japan. I think.
It's not Japan. It's China. It's Hong Kong, but it's technically not China. It's yeah. But but yeah, it's like you play an undercover cop, and you're sent to infiltrate triad gangs, which is a bit like Yukaza, yeah. And yeah, honestly, it's just a fun. It's not really like a well written. I think you're talking about a video game at a certain time where storyline. It's not really a lot to think about in terms of the writing, the characters. You just sort of play the game to sort of enjoy the combat system, to the level design. It's aged quite well, to be fair. I mean, I'm not really that asked about graphics, to be honest. It's just like, as long as the gameplay's fun, the story's interesting, I'm all good for that. But it still holds up quite well. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, it wasn't remastered at all when I played it, and it still looks pretty good, especially with the cutscenes. The fluidity in terms of the character interactions, the facial animations obviously have aged pretty badly, but that's just a sign of the times, essentially. But yeah, it's just the storyline. What can I talk about in terms of the storyline? It's just a typical, like, there's twists and turns here and there. This character, we kind of feel sorry for him because of his sister. They essentially fled to America to sort of find a new sort of beginnings because of his sister being a drug addict, and obviously her being a drug addict was under the influence of one of the triad gangs, which therefore has this sort of emotional sort of responsibility for his sister's death. Therefore, he has some sort of, bitterness towards these Triad gang members. So there's obviously some sort of emotional involvement, investment, dare I say. And it's just a typical, he gets his revenge. But there's other stuff going on in the game as well. The combat system, I do think, is very reminiscent to a game series based on the Batman comic books, Arkham games. It's pretty much similar, where it's a very easy to remember combat system. A lot of buttons mashing, simple sort of counterpart button. That's pretty much it, really. The gun sort of combat system is a lot to be desired. It's essentially a game where it's mainly better for like melee. The guns are sort of like, it's for like those sort of high octane chase sequences where you're shooting out of a car. But other than that, that's pretty much it with Sleeping Dogs. I would go into it a bit more, but it's been quite a while since I've played that. But yeah, overall, pretty good game. Likeable characters. Just really fun. Yeah, that was Sleeping Dogs.
On the fucking, what am I trying to say?
I wish I could know what you were saying.
On the subject of video games,
yes.
I watched the most recent Resident Evil film, Welcome to Raccoon City. I'm a fan of Resident Evil games. I've played most of the main series. I haven't played any really spin-off games. So everything apart from Resident Evil 6. Honestly, I didn't mind it. I mean, if you look on Reddit and other places, this film gets fucking slated. Like, people really do hate it, and like, I don't understand why, because like video games, you're taking a video game which, and if you, depending on how you play Resi can take 4 hours, it can take 10 hours, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, you have to condense that much into a coherent 2-hour film.
Yeah.
And I thought it was fine. I honestly thought it was fine. It was just, it wasn't like amazing. The script was a bit silly. Like, I
mean, you got to think Resident Evil's sort of own sort of plots aren't really that, they're quite silly anyway.
Yeah,
the whole like, mansion and.
Yeah. Well, this is. I mean, this is practically. It's a remake of the second game, basically, with a bit of the first game. And I think the director, who I haven't got written down, I think he even said like the sort of cinematic look of the Resident Evil 2 remake was the sort of inspiration for this film, and you can really tell. There's some cool little references to the games, like she has some keys, and they've got like the heart sound, and they don't go to the effort of like, you need this key for this or you need that key. It's like she just has some keys and they have the symbols on them.
Still a sandwich now.
I really love the font, because they use the font from the first ever game.
Oh,
and it just comes up Resident Evil, and I'm just like, yes.
Do they have like some voiceover saying
No,
that?
but I really
That's
think
such a
they should have.
Yeah.
Like I say, the film isn't like good, because like there's a moment at the start. I don't know if you remember the beginning of Resident Evil 2, the game, but there's the guy on the lorry
eating a burger.
They actually do that same shot. See, this is what I mean. There's good shots. Let me stay on topic. Like, they recreate that shot, but in this one, Claire Redfield is with him, and they like hit a body. They look around, the body gets up and fucks off, because obviously it's a zombie, and then they just get back in the car and leave, and it's just like, well, you wouldn't fucking do that, would you?
Yeah.
But it's just like, you just kind of go with it. I mean, if you're going into this like, I want the biggest adaptation of Resident Evil.
Most faithful depiction.
Yeah, I don't want anything to be daft, but like, you kind of need that silliness to it. The biggest complaints I sort of heard before I watched this was that Leon's character was not very good, and to be honest, I don't care if they don't look like the characters. I ain't bothered, because who cares? But when I watched it, I was kind of in agreement, like, this guy's a fucking idiot. And like, I know in Resident Evil 2 that he's a rookie, and he's kind of like, he's getting his way and all that, and then by Resident Evil 4 he works with the fucking president as well. But it's just like, he's just too stupid. He's not a rookie, he's just an idiot, and he does get some good moments.
Is he meant to be like the sort of comical?
I think so, yeah. And it's just like, but he's just a bit silly. I mean, he kind of does have a bit of a redemption, Can I kind of spoil this for you?
Go ahead. I'm not
I
gonna
do
watch
recommend.
this.
I do reckon you should, because if you like
Okay.
the games and you kind of want something,
Yeah.
you kind of want something just to watch, then I would recommend it. But there's a good moment at the end, because when Birkin, because Birkin's in it,
Yeah.
he attacks the train at the end while they're all shooting it, and then Leon turns up with a fucking rocket launcher and
Just
blows
out of
it
his
up,
ass.
and it's just like, this is what I mean. I fucking love it, man. Oh shit! And like, this is what I mean, because I like the games. It's just like, people
It's
need-
just a bit of fun.
yeah, people need to
Yeah.
chill the fuck out, man.
Yeah.
Because there's a moment where I was watching it and Leon's like shooting this zombie and he keeps fucking shooting him. And in my head I was like, he needs to fucking stop shooting. He's gonna run out of ammo, man. He needs to run out. But like, in Resi, the way like you need to conserve ammo.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I was
yeah,
watching
yeah.
it.
It's that sort of anxiety you get.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
you're
It's
attached-
like I was
yeah.
watching it, and I know it's a film. He's probably got all the ammo, but it's like in my head I was like, stop wasting ammo, man, because you don't need to. Yeah, just that's Resident Evil.
Yeah,
the film. Well, it's Resident Evil. Welcome to the fucking jungle or whatever. Next one's Mad God. I love this. The basic plot is like, you have this being. I don't know if he's human or he's not, because he wears like a gas mask the entire film. I don't even know if it's a he. Fucking problematic on him. And like, it's basically, he is traversing through this nightmare, surreal, maybe post-apocalyptic world, where there's like, imagine the Fallout universe mixed with the Hellraiser universe. And the most important thing about this film is that 95% of it is stop motion.
Oh wow!
Like old stop motion.
Yeah. Is this quite a new film then?
Yeah, it's been in development for apparently like 30 years. It's Phil Tippett who did
30 years.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like been like an ongoing project. Apparently, some film students have actually worked on it as well.
I know Razor took like what, fucking 5 years, but 30.
I'm not sure if like it was released in parts and it's only just been sort of released as one whole thing. This was directed by Phil Tippett, who did he's very special effects. He did Jurassic Park and he did RoboCop. Because if you remember in RoboCop, have you seen RoboCop?
I have, yeah.
You know
the
the robot at the end.
Yeah, that's like stop motion.
Yeah, I think he did that.
Yeah.
The film is very like loose in terms of plot. There's no, I don't want to say there's nothing to hold on to. There is something there. There is something going on, but it's like, in my mind, it's like, this is either a world which has been ravaged by like war constantly, a nuclear war, and everything's been mutated, and it's like, it feels like they've been building on top of everything. Like that world got, like, let's say our world now, that got destroyed, so they built on top of it, then that got destroyed, so they built on top of it, and blah blah blah. And there's like a bit which is the most live action in the film, where we see this man, and he's got really, he's a human, and he sends our character down into this like hole, but we don't see that until say midway through the film, because we sort of have like a flashback thing, but he's credited as last man, so it kind of makes me think, is this
The last truly surviving.
is this like the last human, and he's made this army of people? Because there's one bit where we see loads of our main character and they all look the same, and it's like, has this person created like an army to keep sending down to find out information or do something about it? Because they all have like a briefcase full of like TNT, like, you know, like cartoon TNT.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes me think, but it is very surreal, and it's like, sometimes it can be hard to sort of stick with it, because it is very like, what is the through line here? Like, what are we actually watching, without it just being like a weird artistic sort of art film? Really good, man, really good. But that's Mad God, so watch Mad God. It's on Shudder at the moment. I think that's everything.
That's
today.
plenty enough.
Yeah. Is there anything else?
I'm alright.